You want to do the special? You go do it yourself.
Come on, it's Gremlins.
No,
come on.
I'm not doing it. I don't care.
For crying out loud. Fine,
I am a
fine.
villain.
I'll do it. Fine. Yeah, sure.
Christmas.
Be that way. Fine. I'll do it. So, what was that I mentioned last time that I haven't hosted the show in a while? Yeah. Well, apparently I'm back to host the show for one episode. Apparently, Malice doesn't much care for Christmas, and being a villain, I guess that kind of comes with the territory. But I did set him up with a good movie, so it's his own fault for not showing up for it. And not to mention, I can't totally blame him. It's a lot of work to get these reviews done in the first place, and then to do it in the chaos before Christmas is going to be kind of grueling, to be honest. Especially since we're literally shooting this episode a couple days in advance only. And we're going to try and get this edited and recorded and done within about 3 days. Fun. But what are you going to do, though? It's first time Halloween didn't suck. Thanksgiving was nice and quiet, and hopefully Christmas here will be going off without a hitch just like the last 2 holidays, which is unusual. Usually I remember this being a lot more hellish and hectic and more hair-pulling worthy. Nonetheless, things are going smoothly so far. Well, again, it's going to be his fault that he's missed out on this movie, which, by the way, Gremlins is a fantastic little holiday feature. Sure, it's a little twisted, and you have to be a little bit twisted already like it to begin with, but you wouldn't be watching my show now if you weren't at least a little bit twisted, right? Well, I say my show, our show. This channel's review show, if you weren't a little bit twisted. Honey, look at the views for King Kong. That thing rocketed pretty quickly, to be honest. Well, anyway, if holiday specials are to follow their natural order, pretty soon we should be getting... Sure enough.
Hey dude, you ready for today?
Yes. So, GenVamp, right?
Yep, that's me. Also, one question. Well, it's more like 2. Why do you have glasses on? And, why is your mask off?
Oh my. This is gonna take a while to explain. I guess roll the credits. Do I have a button on here for that? Oh yeah, I do.
Okay, I understand now. So, shall we get started?
So, yeah, the explanations to you out of the way. I do believe we should follow the show's normal formula that it has been of late, which, again, I helped guide a little bit, you know. So, we're going to be talking about the plot of the movie first, then.
We open on Mr. Peltzer, the father of our main character, who is in one of the many big city Chinatowns within the U.S. As he's out shopping for his son's Christmas present, he's also looking to sell some of his humorous, self-made inventions. He gets guided by a boy into his grandpa's shop, and while he's being there, he overhears a small creature, and upon seeing it, he tries to buy it for his son for some reason. But the shopkeeper, Mr. Wing, refuses to sell what he calls a mogwai at any price. Please note that in Chinese, mogwai means one of three things: demon, monster, or gremlin, hence this movie's title.
The grandson, however, knows that they really need the money and sells it to Mr. Peltzer anyways. He also tells him about the rules of the mogwai. No bright lights, no water, and most importantly, no feeding it after midnight. With that, we fade over to their hometown, Kingston Falls, as Billy Peltzer, our main character, heads off to work, where he is the teller at the local bank. There he also meets Kate, the girl of Billy's dreams.
While at work, we get to meet Mrs. Deagle, the rich bitch that everybody hates. She goes to the bank so she can threaten to kill Billy's dog. But as to why a woman would leave such a fragile thing like a giant ceramic snowman outside of her house is beyond me. She was only getting what she deserved with an item like that.
A little further on, Billy finally gets home and soon after is followed in by his father. There he finally gives the mogwai to Billy, since obviously he can't keep it wrapped up until Christmas. In the meantime, he had called the small creature Gizmo due to apparently playing with one of his gadgets on the way home. Billy takes Gizmo upstairs and plays some music with him. That is, if he isn't also watching TV, which Gizmo quickly attaches to the movies as well.
A little while later, Pete comes by to give the Peltzers a tree. He seems like he must be one of the nearby kids that Billy has known for a while. I'm guessing they're best friends? He offers to help Pete by hiding the silly tree costume that his dad forced him to wear due to selling trees. While Billy is showing Gizmo off to Pete, water gets accidentally bumped onto Gizmo, which makes 6 more mogwai who pop out of him. The other ones are a bit more energetic, and they, along with the mohawked one named Stripe, become rather troublesome. However, that's probably because of Stripe's influence.
Speaking of which, it wouldn't be long before he cooks up a plan to get himself and the others fed after midnight, thus resulting in them growing in outer shells and then changing into their new forms. These would hatch open halfway through the next day and result in the green-skinned gremlins that we are used to. They make all sorts of problems at the Peltzer's house before Stripe finally breaks free.
Stripe manages to get to the local YMCA in order to get to the workout buildings pool. Before Billy can stop him, Stripe manages to leap into the pool, resulting in this already huge pool having bubbling and smoking water that soon after results in an army of gremlins.
So, obviously we have to stop talking about the plot right here, otherwise we're definitely going to run strongly into the spoiler territory. And let me say, hand on heart, what we are stopping you from hearing about is probably some of the best stuff in the actual movie itself. There's already some really good stuff that we already had to skip over just so we could skim the plot itself, but there are some gorgeous, extremely well put together scenes that will be following what we have just talked about for the last, say, 15 to 20 minutes of the film. And while I'm sure most people have seen it, at least most people in our age group, I am pretty sure there are still younger audience that have yet to have seen, if they even have heard of Gremlins. So I say to you, younger audience, you need to see Gremlins, okay? You really do. It's for your own best interest, and while it is a little bit twisted and bizarre, who isn't these days? And furthermore, it's a good twisted dark humor satire of the modern day Christmas anyways. So as far as I'm concerned, it's right up there with Christmas movies that should belong on TV almost every year this time of year. Admittedly, probably sometime after, say, 8 or 9 o'clock at night, but I'd say it's worthy of being shown once in a while. And it doesn't just mention Christmas at the beginning, mention Christmas at the end, and bookmark it that way. Literally, there's snow everywhere. There is yards full of decorations. The fact that Gizmo is even in Billy's possession in and of itself is because of Christmas.
Apparently, this is one of several movies that pushed for the creation of the PG-13 rating back in the 80s. And while a good portion of this is a lighthearted romp, there are other parts that could easily leave nightmare fuel for kids that aren't ready for it.
In fact, the town itself for this movie was actually really interesting because it's actually the same backlot that was used for the downtown Clock Square area of Back to the Future 1 and 2. So, it stayed around for quite a while until it actually burned after Back to the Future 2 was shortly done using it, apparently. But it was used again for this, and you can hardly tell. You can barely tell that it's the same thing. It looks pretty darn genuine in this film, especially since most of it's covered over in snow.
Also, the animatronics for this movie are very impressive, using only one long-distance shot of the Gremlins in stop motion walking into town. It's a really well-shot scene, while the rest of the film, the animatronics were mostly real, and on-set often. And considering how advanced the animatronic Gremlins were, the cost of them was between $30,000 to $40,000 each. Also, if anyone ever left the lot, the guards were ordered to do car searches to make sure none of them left without consent.
And there's so many other interesting and strange background stories behind the making of this film that we literally could go on for hours talking about all these strange stuff that went on behind the scenes. But we don't have time for that in a show that's meant to be mostly about 20 minutes or less. So with that, I think it's definitely high time that we do our final thoughts on the movie. I think this movie is great. Well, I finally saw it all the way through and I bought a tape of it when I was about 12 years old. I think that was one of the first few movies to stick with me outside of Back to the Future and The Bride of Frankenstein. This one in particular sparked my interest in monsters and the making of animatronics, though sadly it's becoming a dying thing in movies, and I honestly don't know why. Anyway, this is a movie that will stick with anyone that sees it, and it's most likely for the better.
Yeah, I agree. Gremlins is a fun movie with a good plot to go along with it. That and it's all coupled together with likable yet awesome main characters and impressive animatronics. One thing that I really do like about the film, primarily, is it's the main characters. It feels like there's a great sense of development with them and they learn how to defeat the bad guys a lot better. Also, they're not as whiny as other characters in slasher films, which are usually just stereotypes. These people seem like the anti-stereotypes of something like that. And while this is a horror comedy movie, this movie does a great job of capturing the essence of good action because the main characters do a good job fighting off against the Gremlins, as well as being scared of them in their own way. I gotta say, they're tough as nails when they want to be. Yep, this is a good movie, and I definitely recommend it to anyone willing to see it.
Alright, and thank you for joining me for the first Christmas review on this show, GenVamp.
No problem, dude. Also, happy holidays, everyone!
Yes, and a Merry Christmas to everyone, and we'll see you all next time.